Hi, I'm Nate Wakeford, your masculinity and mindset coach. And today I'm going to be talking about why dominance is important. And that's why I've referred to the title of this one, More Dominance, Less Drama. If a woman doesn't trust your leadership, she's going to test it. And if you're a man who doesn't have clarity in his path and purpose in life, if you're a man who lacks integrity, if you're a man who is not connected to his dominant, penetrative presence, then she will not feel safe to be led by you. A man who is not framed, he will create more chaos. He will contribute to the chaos that the feminine's already experienced. And I've talked about this in some of my other videos, where a man who seeks external acceptance, validation, and attention, who's not framed such that when he's in a position where he's experiencing intensity, he becomes reactive. He tries to restore order, if at all, by increasing his emotionality in his expression. Whereas a man who is in a dominant, framed, penetrative presence will restore order very quickly. He will restore order through his calmness and stillness, his non-reactivity, his dominant penetrative energy, where he can speak directly and calmly without being overly excitable, erratic, emotional. And again, by dominance, I mean he's the dominant creator in his reality. He doesn't let the chaos of others come into his world. He sets clear boundaries and he speaks calmly and for the highest well-being of those that are in his presence. So he doesn't seek to control another, he seeks to create order through this penetrative direct energy. Now, if you're a man who is highly reactive to your external circumstances, it means you don't have a strong center. It means you don't have a path or a purpose that you're committed to moving towards and not willing to deviate from easily. You're a man who has discipline. You're a man who's not easily seduced by distractions, by feminine energy, by other people's dramas. Because you have a strong identity, you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what your values are, you live in accordance with them, you have strong boundaries to protect your identity and your presence. You tend to be responsive quite quickly instead of letting things build up. Now, when a woman tests you, it's a natural part of the early stages of a woman trying to find out if you're a suitable match, a suitable partner. But she will also test you more when she's starting to respect you less, when she's starting to not trust you as much, when maybe you are in a time where you are not so clear and committed to your own path. If you find yourself in a position where you are experiencing that your woman is becoming increasingly combative, where she's testing you more, you have to come back to yourself. You don't make concessions, you don't try to please her, you come back to yourself energetically and you go to work on yourself. You become more disciplined, more focused in your path, and you build yourself up in integrity and consistently in the ways that are complementary to your needs, in aligned expression with your values, and you build yourself up in your confidence and esteem. What an unframed man will do is he'll start making concessions and trying to please the woman in her increasing demands. And that's a path to self-destruction. If a woman's testing you, just understand it's very natural. You don't argue with her, don't become more combative to try and defend, if you're out of integrity or if not doing the right things, just remedy your behavior. Because the more that you try to enter debates for what she feels in her body is congruent and aligned, there is a wisdom to that. But you don't fall into her reality. There's the trap. You take the feedback and then you go, okay, this is feedback. How am I truly not in integrity? Am I truly not committed to my own path and purpose? Am I deviating and distracted from what I know I should be doing that's going to be reinvigorating and complementary to my esteem? And to that extent, if it is, then come back to yourself and focus on yourself and build yourself up. If she's gaslighting, if she's manipulating you, and she's not a healthy expression from the feminine, then again, if you've got high self-esteem and a strong identity, then you won't tolerate that behavior. You'll just set a boundary, and if it continues, you'll move on. So it really comes back to you knowing yourself, self-awareness. And in no place do things happen in your reality without your power to somehow influence them as a grown man. So if this is happening, don't become resentful towards a woman, don't blame the woman. Take responsibility for becoming a better leader, for becoming more dominant in your expression, and for being clearer in your path and purpose, and living in integrity, and not making concessions, not giving up what will empower you to try and please another, not being externally referenced, not giving away your authority. Because otherwise you will learn the lessons that will bring you back to yourself so that you can develop yourself to become more powerful. Women, sometimes we invite women into our lives to be our teachers. They will create pain for us to learn. And like I said in a previous video, a man becomes mature in his decisions when he realizes the consequences of not living in alignment with his truth, when not being consistent and disciplined in the maintenance of his frame. Trust me, it's a lot more painful for you to not live in accordance with your truth than try to temporarily appease a woman who is testing you. The test will become bigger. The emotional intensity will become bigger until you restore order and calm in your own frame, in your own life, in your own identity, and then that radiates out in the way that you maintain that order in your environment, inclusive of the woman that's inside your environment. Sometimes when a woman's in her emotional chaos, she's testing to whether or not you will protect your calm, whether you'll tolerate it or not. And she might not even be doing it consciously. She might be in her own emotional chaos for something that's happening in her life, particularly in the early dating phase. And if you tolerate that chaos coming into your life, if you try to take on her problems, then you're inheriting her problems that will likely come at the detriment to the momentum and progress towards your path and purpose and mission in life. So be wary of taking on a woman's suffering, thinking that that's somehow chivalrous to take on another person's suffering. It's not. What you can do is, once you've established your clear path and purpose, you've expressed with discipline the creation of your reality, you can invite a woman who's complementary to that. If something happens in her life where she goes into chaos, you can be a calm presence to her. You can bring her to stillness. But you don't take on a woman's problems in a general sense. You don't tolerate disrespect in any way. You don't tolerate her attempts to derail you and your mission and purpose in life for her temporary gratification, her temporary desires or demands. As I mentioned in a previous video, you're going to choose a woman who's complementary to your path. And women are emotional creatures, and there is definitely a place for you to be a grounding, calming presence in her life. But just be wary of where that creeps into the place of her not willing to do her work and you being 100% responsible for her emotional state. You're not. She is naturally self-regulating, or she has friends when you're not present, when you're not in her life, if you're not in her relationship with her. And it doesn't automatically mean that you're responsible for every one of her emotions if she's not doing her things to keep herself in a state of well-being. If she hasn't got her calming practices, whether it be yoga, meditation, dancing, or whatever she does to take care of herself, she's still responsible to some extent for her own emotional regulation. It's just that you give that extra layer of foundation and calm in her chaos. And that's what's so important, to choose a woman who is relatively stable. Even if she has emotions, she has ways to regulate herself. A woman who's not able to do so quite possibly will be destructive to your path. So you, like I mentioned in the video, choose wisely, take time to really get to understand a woman. And once you choose a right woman, if a woman experiences, a degree of emotional uncertainty, if there's been some tragic event or circumstance that happens in her life, then it's a very beautiful thing for a man to offer his stillness, his presence, and his calm. If there's some sort of genuine threat and you can restore the environment to calm, that's a noble and beautiful thing to do. So I'm not saying that there isn't a place for bringing your grounded presence and foundation to a woman's life. It 100% is, and it's a beautiful attribute of a framed, empowered man. The majority of what I'm talking about here is when a woman in day-to-day life has continual drama and chaos that she brings into yours. That is not a good thing, and you're not responsible for that. And you're also not responsible for a woman who continuously doesn't trust you. If you've shown yourself to be a trustworthy man, if you've shown yourself to be a man of integrity, and she projects her lack of trust onto you, that's her own prior traumas that are likely coming to the surface. You can be direct in your dominant presence and invite your calmness. And if she's honoring of your authority and leadership, then she will follow you. If she's not, if she's combative, if she denies your authority to lead, then you're inheriting a lot of challenges into your life that probably aren't complementary to your path and purpose. And if you're a man who's committed to that, then you're going to choose wisely in which type of woman you bring into your life. I hope this has been useful. If you'd like my support to become a more dominant, more authoritative, more disciplined man, I encourage you to reach out to me via the information provided underneath this video. And I've seen men that choose amazing women in their lives that bring that man nourishment and complement him and his calmness. And there's a mutually energetic and empowering, uplifting dynamic that can be created. She brings her love and attention, and that's the type of woman that you want to attract into your life. That's also the type of woman that really appreciates a man's leadership and dominance in a healthy way. I'm interested to hear your comments and your experiences from what I've shared in this video. Please write them in the comments section below along with any questions. I will do my best to respond to you. See you in the next video.